But welcome everyone this evening to our monthly membership meetup. As we all know, our Rotary numbers haven't been that great, but here's the good news. Tonight, we have several leaders who are bucking that trend. It looks like they're going to end on a positive note, and that's fantastic. So we want you to listen to tonight's panel, and we want you to also think about ending strong and avoiding that June swoon and gearing up for a new Rotary year with some new ideas to have in your toolkit. Because it's really important that we look at positive outcomes and we listen to success stories. And we think about how to utilize some of what you hear tonight with some of what you already know in order to reverse that trend and get us from going down to heading up in a positive direction. So tonight, you'll hear from zone leaders in our two zones who are growing. But these districts did not just think it would happen. They made it happen. They were strategic with their planning. They set it out, they laid it out, and then they did the most important thing. They actually did it. So many times we come up with a plan, but we don't follow through, and that's exactly what they did. So I'm going to turn it over to Louisa, who's going to talk with these three amazing leaders, and I'll join you later for some Q&A. Take it away, Louisa.
Thanks, Cindy. Well, I'm excited about this because we do tend to think that everybody's suffering from some of the same declines. And in fact, most of our districts are looking at a decline. You would know that we have trends, we have data, we have 40 districts between our two zones, and 25% almost are growing. So there you go. There are quite a few, 9, in fact, in our two districts that we expect to see growth at the end of this Rotary year. And that's quite a significant number. So we're pretty excited that we have folks from 3 of those districts who are making it happen. So I'm going to introduce them to you, and then we're going to talk a little bit to Stacy from 7950, who is a change consultant. So this is her world, and so I'm excited to hear what Stacy has to say. She's involved a lot in community work in the Cape Cod area, and she's been a Rotarian for 3 years. So we see these folks that come in and dive in to serve on the membership and public image committees, and she's the incoming chair of the public image committee too. So that's fantastic. So thank you, Stacy, for being with us. Then we have Rick from 7980, who's a PDG and serving as a district membership chair and has held a variety of positions within the district and certainly is committed to strengthening club engagement and member development. He's known for that. And professionally, he's a licensed real estate broker and home improvement contractor in North Haven, Connecticut. And then thirdly, we have a serving district governor. So 3 different roles that these folks play, which I also think is great. And Mark's from 6360, Southwest Michigan. His professional career has been with State Farm Insurance, and he's had significant district experience and seen some significant membership growth this year through strong organic results and new club charters. So we're pretty excited that these 3 people are doing it on the ground, and we're really pleased that you're going to have the opportunity to hear from them and hopefully ask a few questions. So I'm going to start the questioning off with a fairly open-ended one. So we're going to try and keep the answers fairly tight, that we know for all 3 of you that your districts are on track to achieve net growth, which we're very excited about, and congratulations to you for that. So we'd like you to really set the stage for us a little bit and give us a little overview fairly quickly of your approach to leading the membership efforts in your districts in the last year, and what kind of goals may have guided you. Did you have a particular focus or strategic priority? Really, we're looking to understand how you went about organizing your efforts and what actionable advice do you have for the best practices that you've implemented early on in the year that are paying off now in terms of creating that culture of growth. So I'm going to ask all 3 of you that, starting with Stacy, to just get a sense of, give us the gist of how this all came to be, Stacy.
Well, it's funny. I'm speaking on behalf of the current membership chair who's been out on an interim family situation. And when we started the year, our intention was organized, and we had a plan and we had goals, and it was fantastic. Then we launched and no one was responding. And in change, there's good and there's bad. You need both, right? A battery doesn't function on one charge. So the negative gave us input that clearly we weren't doing it right. So we went back to the drawing board and I said, look, instead of outreach via digital approach, I think we need really just old fashioned face to face, make a call, touch. It needs to be a touch point. And so once I started doing that, I actually saw immediate results. And I think this speaks volumes to where we are in a society where digital is like, I mean, we're on Zoom right now, right? I mean, we're all overloaded digitally. Nobody wants another email in their inbox. So when I took the pressure off and the overview, and I just said, how can I help? What's going on? Thanks, Jeff. I literally started to see immediate response. So, my first and really only thing I would say to anybody who's struggling is stop making it about you, make it about them. And as a change consultant, that's our only priority is always make it about the people. And people's a big word. Does it have to be about the people at the top of the food chain, or should it be about the people boots on the ground? And that's really what we did, was shifted our focus and took the pressure off and just said, what are the tools you need? Everybody's going to have a different answer. You have to be prepared for that. And you have to have more people working alongside you. It can't just be you, right? They have to have a dog in the fight or something invested. And so for everything they wanted us to give, I would say, look, I can give you more. You're going to need more time than what I'm going to allot for that. You have to do XYZ before I can do this. So there was a constant give and take, and that helped immensely. And quite honestly, I'm here talking about this, but I get no credit for this. This is all the clubs doing the work. This is what they want. And they're willing to do it if you give them the support they need.
I love that, Stacey. The fact that you had that internal plan to start, and clearly one of our priorities had the agility to say, we need to shift a little bit. We need to try something else. Let's try this. I love hearing that kind of risk taking and agility to try something new and see it work out. So thank you. That's fantastic. Rick, what's your actionable advice?
Well, like Stacy, we did not want to do emails. So what we tried to do is we tried to get in front of as many people as we possibly could. So whenever there was a district event or a gathering, we would try to get out there and talk and get a few minutes, not 30 or 40 minutes, just get a few minutes and try to make them feel good about what was going on. And we did that by highlighting the success that other clubs were having. So we have some clubs that have done really well with membership and some that struggle. And we didn't want to make the ones that are struggling feel bad about it. Instead, what we want to do is we want to put them together, and maybe they can make friends and they can, start sharing resources. And that has helped a bit. We had goals going into it, some lofty goals or stretch goals, but the reality is our goal is just to finish in the net positive territory. Our district had, I don't know, 10 or 12 years of declining numbers. And over the last 3 years, the last 2 years prior to this one, positive. And so our goal is to, be positive again this year. And that's really where the focus is, but in terms of our numbers. But the reality is the numbers aren't ours at the district level. The numbers belong to the clubs, right? The most important things in Rotary that happen at the club level. Members are members of clubs. They're not really members of district or Rotary International. So what we try to do is we try to get the clubs to see that, how many members do you need? What kind of members do you need? Well, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? And that's kind of the makeup of membership that you're going to need at the club level. We try to get them to see that, and that they're not all the same. Some do big, lofty fundraisers, some do smaller community projects, and whatever it is you want to accomplish, that's really where we like to see you. And if we can help you with that, we do want to do it. And of course, our focus, like I said, was was bringing in new members. Maybe I didn't say this, bringing in new members while holding on to as many as we possibly could.
attraction and reducing some of the attrition that you were seeing. But like Stacy, you focused on what people needed. You focused on their goals and helping them achieve them, as opposed to top down. You were working on helping them where they were. So I love that.
That's right. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Mark, same question.
So on June 22nd last year, 24, we pulled together about 50 members of our district leadership team. This was 8 days before I became governor. And we developed a strategic approach to membership growth. And it was simple: 100 or more net, 4 new clubs, and no club losses, no club resignations. Now, it's easy to develop the strategic plan, but how do you translate that to the clubs in a way that they can embrace it? And I would lay the success of this entire year right at the doorstep of our club presidents, because that's where it happened. The club presidents realized that for the past 40 years, we've lost nearly half of our district and about 25% of our clubs. And they were embarrassed by that. And they didn't want their legacy to be membership loss or club loss. And they got on board. I like to refer to it as district inspired, club driven. The real action happened when those club presidents said, let's do it. 37 out of our 50 clubs grew this year. We're at plus 91 right now. Ironically, today, 4 new members came on board on June 2nd. I reach out to our club presidents often, and anecdotally, I'm aware of another 20 to 25 more members that will be coming on board in June. The goal here is to finish strong, run through the finish line, and launch our district governor-elect into a great year next year. The last thing I'd like to say is it's not Mark Odland. It is 3 years of governors all lined up and saying, we're going to change the culture of this district and we're going to grow for the next 3 years. And it's working. And like I said, I give the credit to the club presidents for making it happen.
Well, as you said, that's where the action happens, right? Rick, you said that as
Right.
well. It's at the club level. And the idea of district-inspired, club-driven is a great way of articulating that, because we know that's where it has to happen. So that motivating of the presidents was clearly a key thing for you, Mark. And we'll come back and hear a little bit more about it. In fact, I want to hear a little bit more from each of you about some of the specifics. So I'm going to go back to Stacy again. Now, I don't know how many you're up right now, but we know from the algorithms that we have and the predictions of the trends that you're certainly on track to have a net growth. Don't know exactly where it'll be. There's still time to have influence on that, but certainly more than 20 would be the expectation by the end of June, when we see some losses then, which are inevitable, but hopefully we'll minimize them. And I know that you are a big believer in coupling the whole idea of public image with membership. You serve on both committees, so that's a fantastic asset to bring to the table. And we know that membership growth needs public image work to achieve that kind of growth culture. So can you maybe elaborate a little bit and touch a little bit on your thoughts about how to promote that kind of club culture that's open to change? Because we often hear that that's a challenge. So getting that culture that's open to change, and how you then are creating that space for growth.
It's not easy, so don't anyone think it is. I came into the role of membership ambassador, and I was working with Maureen, who is the current chair and who will be next year, and I will be public image chair, and we will work together because when I came in, I said to her, it doesn't make sense that membership doesn't have somebody also on public image. She's like, I agree. I said, okay, well, then I have to be the one to make the change and do it. So I did it. And I will tell you that I advocate across the board that this should be a standard from Rotary International. You can't have membership without public image, and public image doesn't exist without membership. They really have to coexist. And the greatest challenge I think most clubs are having, and this is just my observation, but understanding how tech comes into this is very overwhelming for clubs, because we have a lot of variation in age and understanding and comfort around it. And that, coupled with the idea that we're evolving our club cultures, and we have legacy members that have so much knowledge and so much wisdom to share. And then we have younger people coming in, and then sometimes there is a clash among the titans because everybody has a way of doing things, and that can be difficult. I would say the best, what we've seen is working, is a regular dialogue with a leader who looks like legacy, bringing forward the new perspective of culture and change. Because having the legacy leader and the newer person alongside each other makes an invincible team. And it shows, it's that thing, if you see it, you can be it. And if you are willing to be honest and open, and again, put your ego aside, it's not about us, right? It's about the club, it's about the team. And those those are hard conversations, and they don't happen quickly. And often remember that if you are struggling in that moment, that you probably shouldn't be the one to have those conversations. You need to bring someone in to do it for you. So if your club is having that conflict and having that struggle around evolution, right, which is really what it is. If change is a bad word, using the word evolution or growth, right? Find other ways to say it, but keep saying it. Not talking about it doesn't help it. And making sure that you're utilizing all the resources, like at membership, public image, and bring in speakers who are change consultants so they can talk about, the evolution of how the club can grow with the benefit of tech and people together, because unfortunately we have to. There's no way around it. They're going hand in hand, right? And then I think separately for us, a big part of why our clubs, not only a big part of why our clubs have been leaning more and reaching more for support and help and growing, is because they know we're here. Like Rick said, that face to face, even and especially short ones, where you show up, you say hi, you let them know you see them. Even for me, I get on socials and I'll say, "Hey, Club of Barnstable Sunrise, I see you doing that volunteer project." And then I add a bunch of hashtags to their community that they aren't using. And hopefully they recognize that, oh, we can use those, right? Things that I don't need to call them and say, "Hey, you didn't do this." I can show them, how, show, don't tell kind of thing. And at the end of the day, it really, really has a greater impact, at least from our experience.
I love those comments, especially the idea of using those legacy folks, as you referred to them as kind of the influencers, to pair them and to pair the membership efforts with the PI efforts is so critical. So I love that. And as a change consultant, I love hearing you say that maybe change isn't the word to use within a club. And I've certainly seen that can be a scary thing. It's all this change all the time. Evolution is clearly what we need to have. And so thank you for that. Those are great comments. So Rick,
Yes.
You're on track to have some growth. The graph is saying you'll be up in the 30 something, hopefully, still room to make it even more. And I know you've said that your priority was to focus on retention and keeping that attrition number down. So maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that and tell us why this is such an important tool in the whole growth toolbox, and what maybe are some of the specific ways that you coached some of your leaders to keep that retention and numbers engaged and excited about Rotary.
Okay, thank you. So why it's important is really because of my background. I work in business and academia, and we spend a considerable amount of resources on attraction efforts, right? So a lot of time and money to get new clients, to get new students. It's expensive, but it's measurable, right? We know that the clients and the students that we get and we bring in enrich our organization the longer they stay with us. We know that. Right? So we want to hold on to them. But in Rotary, it's different because nobody's really paying directly for acquisition, right? What we have is we have a lot of volunteers that do a lot of great things, but it's all sunken cost, so to speak, right? So nobody's writing any checks out. So it doesn't seem to hurt as much if people leave, which is why folks don't always pay attention to it. So my perspective has been, we want to acquire, we want to add new members, but we also want to keep the members that we have. And we want to be deliberate about that. And some ways that we could be deliberate about it are having meetings that are exciting, that are fun to come to, that your members really, feel bad if they miss. So if you can have, it's more than what Rotary has pushed for years as the vibrant meeting or the vibrant club. It's more than that. It's the relationships and the people that want to see each other and being deliberate about that. So we try to get clubs to see that the meeting is very, very important. Then we also try to get them to see, and this is going to sound like I stole Stacy's talk here, but I actually developed this, I don't know how many miles away, 150 miles away, without talking to her. We look at the membership in groups, and it's really not one size fits all. There's different people doing different things, but sometimes the club leaders are just trying to do the same thing with the same group. Now, obviously, if you have 40 members in the club, you can't do 40 different things. But some of the kind of common groups are, you have newbies, you have people who have come in the last couple of years. You've got the legacy leaders, which is really what Stacy said and what we focus on as well. And then you kind of have that gooey middle, and which are people who've been around in Rotary, like Rotary, but they don't want to be leaders, they don't want to be president, and you're not going to talk them into being it, but they love being part of it. So playing to essentially the strengths and what they care about and recognizing, where they are and dealing with them where they are, as opposed to just saying, okay, you got 40 people, we're just going to do it one way. It's a forced march. We just try to get people to see it that way. And I'll just give you a quick example. I'm going to be co-president because none of the gooey middle wants to be president. So myself and another lady, I've been president a couple times over the 30 years, and another lady's been president a couple times. So we're experienced. We'll be able to handle this. And we actually had dinners already for these various groups. Just hearing them out, figuring out where they are, talking about maybe some of the things we're going to be doing in the coming year. And they've come back and they've been really, really appreciative that we actually spent the time with them and, asked them really what do they want to do and what do they want to accomplish? What's important to you? So kind of looking at like that and, just also recognizing, and I think you talked about the June swoon at the beginning, recognizing that when somebody doesn't come for a while, you need to go find them. And you need to re-engage them somehow. If you're calling them, maybe they can't come every week, but you can, maybe give them a small task to do, or they could come for one little thing, or they can come to a dinner, or they can send somebody in their family to do something, just a way to re-engage them. Because the further they get away from our clubs, the more likely they're going to leave Rotary.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just such great comments about how you've approached that, because we know you can't retain yourself into growth, but
Right.
It's certainly a key part of the puzzle. And this theme of going to where the people are and starting with talking to them and listening to them, I think is such an important one that you and Stacy have both spoken to. So thank you for that. I think that's a critical point. And Mark, you've had a few different approaches. We know we're talking about up 90 or more at this point. We know you're going to end with some net double-digit growth, and that's included starting a couple of new clubs this year, which is fantastic to see. You've had organic growth as well, and I know you mentioned the strategic plan that you did and the goals that you set at the beginning of the year, and being focused on not losing any, and also avoiding again that June swoon. So what's the biggest takeaway that you can share based on the success that you've achieved, and maybe really you're interested in starting new clubs as well, and how that's sometimes a challenge perhaps for districts to do, but what's the big takeaway for you?
So two things I would share. As a past district governor, or as a district governor, current district governor, there's calls you'll love to get, and then there's calls you don't like to get. So the calls I love to get are from a club president that says, "Can I do this?" Because usually what they're calling to say is, I want to do something in my club that is creating uh, more friction and more problems for our club than it's helping. And my favorite answer is, I never say I'll get back to you. I just simply say, if it follows the four-way test, if you feel that this is going to help your club grow, go do it. And there's some club presidents on the line right now that if we put the microphone in front of them, they would share this with you. Of course, you get those other calls that you don't like to get. My favorite ones are, I'm trying to change my club. Can I do this? So that's number one. Number two, starting new clubs is a great way to grow membership, but it's not easy. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes a lot of energy. You've got to have someone on the ground actually leading that cause. Uh, I'll give you two examples. One, uh, we had a club in Niles, Michigan, Southern Michigan, a 100-year club that in 2017 turned in their charter. They used to be 125 members. They shrunk to about 12. The president had been president 3 or 4 times, and he said, if nobody steps up, we're going to turn in our charter. They turned in their charter. And then every year, year after year after year, I kept hearing these stories. We got to go to Niles and start a club. We've got to go to Niles and start a club. And so finally, and I don't know if he's on the line tonight, but Tim Lee, past district governor, current district governor nominee, and district governor elect now, said, let's go to Niles and start a club. So we went to Niles one night and met at the Iron Shoe Distillery, put out a social media post and said, y'all come if you're interested in Rotary. Had 35 people show up, and that was in July last year. And through months and months and months of work, we finally hit 20, then 21, got our charter in March. I'm happy to say that they've now reduced that number of charter members from 20 down to 15, so you can get a new club at 15. We could have chartered this club back in December, 3 months earlier, had that rule been in place. So chartering a new club, while it will get you immediate members, it is a challenge and it's hard work, but if you have somebody on the ground that's willing to do that, it's a great way to grow membership. We had a satellite club in Charlotte, Michigan, one of the first satellite clubs in the country that finally got to the point where they said, we've been a satellite long enough. Let's get a charter. So I get a call from the chairman of the satellite club saying, can we do this? It was one of those calls that you love to get. And I said, this is one that I need to sort of dance in the head of that needle a little bit, pin a little bit, and talk to the club to make sure that what I say is something that they will support. And so I worked with the sponsoring club, I worked with the satellite club, and over a matter of about 6 weeks, they reached a really good conclusion. Now, here's the really good news about that. There were 75 members, including the satellite club, on July 1st last year. The satellite club had 21 members. At the end of this year, Rotary year, those two clubs will have 100 members. Now, that's the kind of growth. You could call that new club or you can call that organic. I call it both. It doesn't make any difference, but it's a powerful way to grow. You've got a satellite club that says it's time to move on. Let's get our charter. And you negotiate and you work out a peaceful transition. I see Ed Foster's on the line tonight. He was very involved in having that happen. And so we had great growth as a result of that. So being open to the change, being willing to support clubs in the efforts that they're making to try to grow, not throwing up blockades. I've only been a Rotary member for 11 years. And I think it's my superpower because I don't know any better.
Your superpower also, from what you've said, is taking those calls and basically giving people permission to try things, right? It sounds like the calls you like when people are saying, can I do this? Can I try this? You're enabling them by giving them permission to do so and encouraging that kind of innovation. So that, I think that's a critical piece. And of course, now we have a new initiative that hopefully people have heard of the approach in North America for creating new clubs and to have a really supportive team to help people do it. Because you're right, it is hard. And so companion clubs and other clubs, we're going to have a lot more support across North America going forward for that. So we'll be able to say you have permission and we have support for you to even more people. So thank you for that. We're coming to the end, but I want to ask each of you one more question, but I also want to encourage folks on the line, if you have questions, to put them in the chat. We'll ask Cindy to maybe keep a monitoring of that, and hopefully there'll be time for a couple. You can see if there's some trends in those questions, because I'm going to ask each person now to really just give us a 1 minute response to what we might have missed in terms of your final piece of advice or your best practice, or perhaps it was a challenge that you've overcome to be successful with positive growth. What's the one important thing that you think you should share with the folks on this call tonight before we go to a few questions? So we'll go back to Stacy and start first. Give us the 1 minute top thing we need to hear from you, Stacy.
Really, it boils down to make peace with being uncomfortable. Change only occurs when we are uncomfortable. And that is a really difficult thing. But if you, again, are communicative, not just with the people in the landscape of whether they're current members, future members, potential members, the idea of everybody is in it together, talking about it regularly, embracing it, it will help everything move forward the more it is front and center.
Perfect. In a minute. Well done. Rick, what's your minute?
Well, I think it's having a soft touch and not over communicating, which is pretty much the culture that we have, to bomb people with emails and all kinds of other things and meetings as well. So I think that's the big piece of advice. But even more important than that is looking for the sparks in the club, because you see some clubs that could really ignite and add a lot of members just because they have the personality and they have the drive to do it. And those folks are simply amazing. And that's really the one thing I've learned in this journey, is that it's, again, not one size fits all, is that there are some people that are capable of bringing in 20, 30 members, and some people are capable of bringing in none or one, and that's okay. But the sparks really make a huge difference.
Absolutely. That's light a few fires. That's a great one. I love that. We'll look for the sparks. Mark, what's your 1 minute that we haven't heard yet that we need to share?
Membership is an outcome. Everything that we do, every initiative, every committee, every process that we're involved in should help support membership growth. And if we approach it that way, and if we look at every committee as a vessel, as a way to gain membership, we will grow. And by looking at, as Stacy said, public image, and looking at the foundation, if you look at all those resources as a tool to help you grow, you will grow. It's not a training. It's not a one-off. It's a, we sponsor One Summits. We sponsor 5 Steps to Membership Growth. We sponsor Vibrant Club workshops. We do all of those things, but the clubs ultimately embrace and learn and take home those key concepts. So it's not a one-off. It is a collective effort of everyone district-wide to make it happen.
Fantastic messages from you all. I'm going to ask Cindy if there are any burning questions or anything you're seeing, any trends in the chat that we can ask our folks now.
Yes, I do have one. And it is, how do you encourage club presidents whose clubs they want to grow, but they're very small and their club members are exhausted? It's like the football player, one person trying to drag the team across the goal line. How do you encourage that club president?
Can I take that one as a starter? Okay. A call that I never like to get is one that I had in February from a club in our district, a small club, of an old club, been around a long time. The club president calls and he says, we're going to turn in our charter. And I said, before you do that, give me an opportunity. And so I reached out to District Governor-elect Jackie Huey, District Governor nominee Tim Lee, and the Assistant Governor Mike Bowler. We went to that community. We sat down with that club. We spent an entire morning with them, trying to examine exactly what was happening there and why it was happening. We reviewed their history, all the projects that they had been involved in, the fundraising they had done, the community impact that they had had. And at the end of that meeting, District Governor-elect Jackie Huey looked at the club and said, I can help you. I can help you if you open the door and let me have an opportunity. And as a result of that meeting, that club, this is February, and now it's June, has added 2 or 3 new members. They have a new president, and they're reinvigorated, and they're on fire, and they're ready to go. You have to invest in these clubs. And when you see a club that's struggling like that, with a president that's been there maybe 2 terms, 3 terms, they're worn out, they're tired. Go there, meet with them, give them an opportunity to tell their story, figure out some solutions for them, and work with them to make it happen. That's my advice.
Yeah, I think what you did in calling in those DGE, DGN, and having that continuity, because that's critical. First of all, we know that that's a success factor at the district and at the club level, and so you did that. You made that happen, and then going there and saying we are truly here to help, as opposed to just saying, oh, okay, throw your hands up. It's hard. Okay, you're throwing in your charter. We're done. You took the action to make that happen and to show them that there was help available. So thank you for that. I'm wondering if Stacy or Rick has had any similar experience with clubs that they're just kind of ready to say, we've been there, we're done. Stacy, you're nodding.
Well, it wasn't so much we've been there, we're done. It was more exhausted, trying to do everything, right? And there's 2 avenues to that. One is you have to look at the club president themselves. Why are they taking all this on, and why is this list so long? Let's help them look at that list and reevaluate it and identify really what needs to be done and what they can let go. Sometimes having somebody outside of yourself as a club president, right? Having somebody at a district level be your resource, be your mentor, be your guide, be your extra eyes to say, you know what, you don't have to do all that. Just focus on X, Y, and Z, and the rest will come, right? Because our experience tells us this, right? Separately, leaning into that collaborative nature that we have going in Rotary, right? Encouraging other clubs to partner together. When you have 2 small clubs, they become one big club, right? There's more resources, there's more ideas, there's more energy. That can be really helpful. Also leaning into the district level resources. I mean, when we started, membership started outreach, people were just like, I don't have time. We're trying to figure this out. I'm like, I'm here to help you do the work, not give you more work. Like, lean into those things are really important. And recognizing that you don't have to do everything. Give yourself the grace to understand that if you burn out, then there's no one to do it. So you really have to, again, embrace change and be willing to shift gears when you're doing so much, and prioritize. You know, if you focus on just one thing instead of 12 things, you give all that good energy to that one thing. That one thing can get you more people, and then the more people then you can add to that to-do list, right? Everything has a consecutive growth opportunity if you are able to really narrow the focus. I know it sounds really simplistic, and I'm not trying to be dismissive. I hope it comes across as what it's meant to be, which is valuable.
Absolutely valuable. And I think you, Stacy, and Mark both really highlighted the fact that you were proactive You're going and saying, we can help you, as opposed to just sitting back and saying, what will be, will be. You're taking action yourselves and intentionally working with those clubs and saying, how can we help? We are here to help you. Rick, anything you wanted to add to that one?
Sure. I think a couple pronged approach here. One is to try to leverage the good things that the club has done in the past, and to try to highlight that with respect to the community and going out to the community to look for help with the clubs, and to leverage, the other part of it is to leverage district resources, such as assistant governors or even friends who might be Rotarians in the area that might have contacts in that same town. And it's not too hard to find them. So if the president and one or two people are all that's available to do that, we have other resources available to help them out with that, and to get out there and say, look, these are the great things we've done. This we could continue to do more. We do need your help. And while you're out there, look for that spark. Maybe you'll find that person.
Great answer. That was such a terrific question. I'm glad we were able to spend that time on it. Cindy, is there anything else that's kind of there that hasn't been addressed in the chat?
There was, but Rick just hit on it, and that was involving your assistant governors in the process. How are you doing that?
Any other thoughts about that anyone has about having that involvement and how important area or assistant governors can be in addressing some of those challenges with growth?
In every interaction that I've had where we're really digging in and trying to help clubs, the AG has been at the table. And that's why they're there. And I would never I was an AG. I loved serving in that role because it really was one where you could really understand and feel like you were connected very closely to that club. And yes, don't for a minute underestimate what an AG can do for your club.
I totally agree. I think they're integral to the whole piece. Lauren, you've got your hand up. I'm going to go to you quickly before we come to the end.
Involving the AG is really, really important, but I really need the AGs to be truthful. And if you see a club really having struggles where presidents are leaving on steroids, they're not turning over, they're not getting the people in place, they're not got their governance model in, you have to come and tell the truth to the district. Sometimes they keep that hidden for about 12 months to 24 months, and you're 12 to 24 months too late. But when they do help them, it does make a big difference the earlier you get in. But ironically, in the District 5040, most past district governors have gone back and become presidents. And I've always felt that the best job in the world, if you're not district governor, is AG. So I'm going to be an AG for next year. So.
Oh, good for you. I agree. I think it's a fantastic role on the ground to be where the action is and really have some influence there. We are at our 45-minute time, which is what we have committed to do. And so I want to very much thank these terrific panelists who have been there, done that this year. They have made the conditions, they created the conditions for growth, they've built that culture, they've given clubs permission, they've listened, they've gone where the people are and really helped with that growth. Now, we're happy to stay for a few extra minutes if there are any other questions. Certainly happy to stay on for a little bit, but I want to respect the time and let you know that we will have a recording, obviously, of this, and we're happy to let you go. But if there are any other questions, any other thoughts in the chat, or put your hand up, we're here for a couple more minutes.
If I could also really quick before people head off, I want to talk about our July 7th monthly membership meetup, where it's new, and you. And it's going to talk about the new roles and different things that Rotary has going on. So new, and you. July 7th
Fantastic.
at 7:30.
We're continuing first Monday of the month, starting in the new year. And so if you haven't seen it already, there are new roles for membership committees. So please be thinking about that as you're putting your teams in place, whether you're a continuing membership chair or people in the DG line. 3 new subcommittees that every district is expected to have, and that's 3 people, not one person filling 3 roles or a membership chair filling all of the roles. That doesn't count. It's 3 new people in 3 new roles to help you, and we are available as your zone membership team. And you'll see our name has changed a bit. We're instead of being just Rotary coordinators, we will be Rotary membership coordinators. That is our one and only focus, and we're here to help you with that. So I don't think there was anything else pop up. So I'm going to again thank our panelists. You've inspired us. You've told us the goods, the way they are, as Lauren said. You told the truth. You told us what happened, and we appreciate that so much, because you are part of the demonstration that it is possible. We have almost 25% of our clubs growing in these two zones, and you're helping to make it happen. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you to everybody who's been on the call. We'll be here, same time, same bat channel next month. Hope to see you then.